Hey guys, Rich from Rich Me Gaming. Hope everyone is doing fantastically well. Now this is going to be a quick guide on how to set up TTS, that's Tabletop Simulator, for Marvel Crisis Protocol, but it will also double up as well as a refresher for anyone who is looking to set up the game for the first time using those 1.5 rules. So the first thing that you're going to need for Tabletop Simulator is obviously a PC or a laptop that can run it. Now, the nice thing for anyone looking to run Tabletop Simulator is that it isn't too processor heavy compared to some other games. It may run a little bit slower at first when you're loading in all of the assets, but any sort of PC, laptop from the last couple of years is going to be absolutely fine. You want to make sure that you're running at least Windows 7. You need at least 4 gigabits of RAM, and you need a graphics card with DX10 or later capabilities. Lastly is, of course, you need a broadband internet connection if you want to play with somebody remotely. So I'm on Steam here, and all I'm going to do is just type in Tabletop Simulator. As you see here that it's reduced in price. It's almost half price from when I first bought it a few years ago. So it's £7.49 on Steam. You may be able to get it cheaper anywhere else, but this is the one that you want to buy. Don't worry about any of the add-ons or anything like that. We can actually 50% off at the moment, so a couple of days to go and grab that. So once you've installed it, you need to head over to your library. You need to find Tabletop Simulator, and then it'll give you an option for the workshop. Now this is where you're going to be able to find all of the games, not just Marvel Crisis Protocol, but so many games, so many board games that are on this application. Now all I'm going to do here is type in Marvel Crisis, and we can see here there's a couple of different ones, but you want the one by Versken here. So this is what you need to do. Now, all you need to do is just click on it. So if I hover over something here that I'm not part of and just press this button here, that's what you need to press. Now, this is going to give you the main game. It's got all of the ultimate encounters in there as well, but it doesn't always have all of the unreleased items in there, anything that's been spoiled but hasn't yet been officially released by the guys over at Atomic Mass Games. So for any of those ones, you want to go here. So custom cards and spoilers. And you can see this one is by Carefree Llama. And just before I go into the mod itself, guys, just a big shout out to Carefree, to Versken, to Dizzard, to all of those guys who run the mod itself, because it is absolutely amazing. It was great when I first started playing it. They've made it so more intuitive now and much easier to play. So once you've subscribed to both of them, you need to head over and jump into Tabletop Simulator. So here I am, guys. I'm in Tabletop Simulator now. Now you get two options to either join or create. So I'm going to create one. I'm just going to put this as single player, but remember, if you want to play this with somebody remotely, you need to make sure you press the multiplayer one there. And then in the workshop part here, you need to make sure that the first game that you load in is going to be the Marvel Crisis Protocol miniatures game, not the spoiler cards. I'm going to show you in a moment how to add all of those spoiler cards in. So we're going to press this here, press load. This is where it may take a little bit of time, depending on the processing power of your PC and everything else, especially if you're loading into somebody else's game. So your ping and things like that are going to have an effect on it. But here we go. This is it now. We are into the mod itself. Now, it may look a little bit daunting at first, but it is really easy to get hold of it. So what have we got? Well, let's just take this down. We've got make your own map, ultimate encounters, organized play, first game. We've got the core set box here. We've got all the models. We've got the character cards. We've got the different infinity gems, the secures and extracts, tactics cards, and then this big sort of space in the middle here. Now, to start a game is really simple and straightforward. The first thing that we're going to need is a map that we can play on. Now, they've made it really simple and easy for us. There's a whole bunch of maps in here that are pre-made. We've got strict, relaxed, and then blank ones. Obviously, strict ones adhere to the rules. Relaxed ones don't adhere to the rules set out by Atomic Mass Games. We can just press random map and it's going to give us a random map in there. We can see that it's strict, it's a modern setting, and Carefree Llama created this one. Now 43, that's an important number. That is the total value of all of the terrain pieces that are on this board accumulated together. So adding up all the 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5 size pieces of terrain. And then we simply put set up terrain on map. And as you'll see in a second, there we go. All of the terrain sat there waiting for us to be able to play. Now, what do we need to do to be able to play? Well, to be able to play, we need to build a roster. Now, building a roster in TTS is really simple and straightforward, and you really have two options to be able to do this. You can either create it from the mod itself, or you can use the Assemble app made by, I think it's the Roster Dr. Mark. You can use the Assemble app and you can import that directly to TTS itself. To be honest with you, I'm a fan of just using the mod itself. So I'm just going to make my roster from here, and everything we need is here for us. Now, one thing I want to show before we get into the actual creation of the roster is how we add in those extra assets that may not be officially released yet. So we're going to go to the top corner here and we can see games. And then we need to scroll across. Okay, we can press on workshop if we want and it'll bring everything up. Or this will just bring up your, most recently used. And then don't click on the actual box itself, but there's 3 little dots in the top corner here. We want to use something called additive load. That's going to give us these extra boxes along the side here. So we've got some proxy cards, we've got some custom cards, spoiled cards. So these are character cards. So at the moment, we can see we've got Honey Badger and X23 in here. And then we've also got other spoiled assets. So this tends to be crisis cards and tactics cards that haven't yet been released. So we need to build a new roster. So where do we start out with any new roster? Well, we start off with our characters. Now, if you've seen me do any of my videos in the past, I've used this previously, but I'm going to basically go through and I'm going to select some characters. So I'm going to start with Star-Lord. There we go. So I'm going to take Star-Lord out. I'm going to take Gamora out of here as well. And you basically go through and pick the 10 characters that you want to choose. And then we do the same with the tactics cards. So I'm taking Guardians of the Galaxy. So let's go for Crew of the Milano. There we go. And then I need to go for, let's have Lovable Misfits in there as well. And you do that until you have all of the cards that you want to use in front of you. So when you are building your roster, you're going to be selecting 10 character cards. You're going to be also selecting 10 tactics cards. And then lastly, you're going to be selecting 6 crisis cards. And that's 3 of the red extracts and 3 of the red secures. It's also worth noting that to get any affiliated tactics cards and a affiliated leader bonus, you need to make sure that 51% of your squad is made up of characters that are from your given affiliation. So just one thing to bear in mind when you're building your roster. So I have all of my cards here. So as we've just gone through, we've got our 10 character cards, we've got our 10 tactics cards, and then we've got our 6 crisis cards. Now we could do this every single time before we play a game, but it's quite cumbersome. It's a bit of a pain to do. So the guys have made it very, very easy. So I'm just going to select them all and press G. And that's going to group them all into a little pile there. So 26 cards in total. We go over to the roster builder here and we've got our roster here. Now, the first thing I want to do and that I always like to do is select an appropriate picture for them, just because it helps me see. But also I like the fact that my rosters have got the right picture on the front. There we go. So we're going to go back to the Guardians one there. Then all we're going to do is drag and we're going to drop that in there. Ignore that wording there. It'll be a card that's probably not loading in yet, which may be one of the new ones that I've got. And then all we're going to do is simply press create roster. So now we have our roster, and it's really simple and easy to open this up. We simply drop it in here, press open, and there we go. There are all of our cards that we want to be able to play with. Our opponent does exactly the same, and we are now ready to play our first game. But before we start playing our game, before we start selecting things from here, I'm going to give you one little piece of advice. Let's close this roster up. I want to right click on this roster, save object. So put in here Guardians, click save, and then when we go to our object and saved objects, in fact, let me delete this one here a second. We go to objects, saved objects, tick the Guardians one off the pile, put it in there, and there we go. There is our roster. So when we're setting up for a game, we need to do the dice off. Okay, so the dice off, or rolling for priority as it's known, each character rolls 5 dice, and whoever scores the most number of successes, that's a very nice roll, wins the dice off. Now, if you have the same number of successes, the character with the most crits wins. If you've got the same amount of crits, it's the most wilds, and then obviously the most hits. If it's a draw at that point, you just do a complete re-roll and do it again. The way in which it works is the character who gets priority is going to be able to choose one thing, and that is whether or not they want to use the secure or they want to use their extract cards. Now, that's all they get to choose. Your opponent, so the person who doesn't get priority, will then obviously choose whichever cards or whichever deck of cards you didn't choose at random. They will also get to choose the board edge, and they will also get to choose the threat level that we're going to be playing. So let's say that we have picked second, and we are going to choose the extracts. So we will press the select extract button, and that will, in secret, put the card in the bottom there. One extra little tip as well, if you are playing a competitive game, you may want to press the hide roster button. That is going to hide your entire roster, so you can see it, but your opponent cannot see it. So just a nice little thing there, but we don't need it on for this. So we've chosen our card. We're just going to pick a random secure card from here. Turn that over a second, and then we're going to go in and we're going to reveal the cards that we've got. So we've got Fear Grips at 18 threat, and then Cosmic Invasion at 16 threat. Actually, both cards from our roster, so those would be a very nice thing to do. Now we've revealed them, we get to choose which board edge and what threat level we want to play at. So I'm going to choose the threat level first, and I'm going to say that we're going to play this game at 18 threat. So that means we can use up to 18 threats worth of character cards. We then get to choose the board edge, and TTS makes this really simple and straightforward for you. We've got a little rotate map button here. We simply press that button and it will rotate the map around 90 degrees. Important to note that in the rules, you choose your board edge before you've actually deployed the crisis tokens itself. So yep, I'm happy with that board edge. Let's now deploy these crisis tokens. We can see that these will drop in automatically. This is both on a D map here. And then I go in and then choose my 18 threats worth of characters. Now, remembering that rule of 51%. So 51% or more of your characters need to be from the given affiliation that you want to use, if you want to use that affiliation's unique abilities. So in a 6-person roster, that means that, or a 6-person squad, at least 4 of them need to be from the given affiliation. So I'm going to start with my core 3 characters from Guardians, which is Groot, Star-Lord and Rocket. I'm then going to add in a couple of characters that are not from affiliations. That's given me 12 threat in total. In fact, I didn't want that one. I wanted X23. So I've got 13 threat, and right now I am affiliated because I've got 3 characters that are Guardians, 2 characters that are not. I've got 5 remaining threat. If I was to choose Ghost Rider, for example, I'm no longer affiliated. Now, why am I no longer affiliated? Well, I've got 6 characters in total, and 3 of them are not affiliated. So Honey Badger, X23 and Ghost Rider are not affiliated. That means that it isn't the magic rule of 51% or over. So I need to rejig my team around. So I'm going to get rid of Ghost Rider for the moment at least. And I'm actually going to take Nebula. And I'm going to take Drax as well. So that's going to give me 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 characters that are affiliated, 2 characters that are not affiliated. Perfect. I'm over the rule of 51%. I now need to choose my tactics card. Now, of the 10 tactics cards that I get to choose, quick note, 2 of them can be from the restricted pile. And I'll put a link down in the description below to all of the restricted cards. So I've picked Bitter Rivals and Med Pack for my 2, but you can pick any of the restricted cards that are out there. Now, I get to choose 5 of these. So I'm going to choose Lovable Misfits. I'm going to take We Are Groot, Deadly Duo, Crew of the Milano, because those are my, I just like those cards. And then we're going to mix it up and we're going to take a Jonathan the Unstoppable. Once we've selected all of our cards, we just then need to press the auto activate button. So we've pressed that auto activate button, and as you can see, it's lined up absolutely everything that we need to be able to start our game. We've got quite a lot of characters on here, so I'll make sure we can see everyone. But a few things of note is you'll notice that whenever we need a particular token, so on X23, for example, who dishes out a bleed condition, that token's there. Nebula, who can dish out shock and stun, those tokens are already there for us, so making it really, really easy. And on top of that as well, Crew of the Milano, we've got a token for that. We've got a stun token in Lovable Misfits. We've got the Jonathan the Unstoppable token in his tactics card as well. So we are now set up and ready to deploy, but we will cover that off in the next part of our series. Hopefully that's been useful, guys. That's a quick, easy guide on how to get TTS installed and what you need to do to start using the Marvel Crisis Protocol app in there. We'll jump into the sort of deployment side of it and how to play the game in part 2 of the video. So there'll be a link down in the description or a link somewhere along here taking you to that video. So head out and check that out if you want to see the next part. But as always, guys, it leaves me with just enough time to say stay well, keep safe, and until next time, bye for now.